Karen's audacity reached a surreal level when the HOA decided to organize a picnic on my land, assuming that a casual, public gathering would assert control and intimidate me. They had no idea that I kept legal grizzly bears on the property, fully trained and contained, as part of a private conservation and security program. What they thought would be an innocuous intrusion turned into a life-altering lesson about underestimating me. The morning of the picnic, dozens of cars arrived, and families began setting up blankets, grills, and tents. Karen supervised with smug satisfaction, believing she had successfully bypassed all restrictions. She assumed that numbers, noise, and public visibility would make resistance complicated or socially awkward. She did not anticipate that my grizzly bears, far from feral, were trained to patrol designated zones and respond to unauthorized human presence in a controlled yet intimidating way. I observed from a safe distance, assessing the picnic layout and positioning the bears in strategic locations near natural barriers. Sensors and cameras, which were connected to the property security grid, immediately alerted me to every movement. As Karen and the HOA approached the picnic site, I remotely activated subtle auditory and environmental cues designed to draw attention to the bears without endangering anyone. The bears, majestic and imposing, slowly emerged into visible range, creating an overwhelming presence that immediately shifted the atmosphere. Panic set in as campers noticed the massive animals moving through the landscape. Karen's smug confidence evaporated. Her attempts to assert authority became frantic commands and waving gestures, but the bears' presence made every action futile. They were trained to maintain their patrols and guard boundaries without aggression toward residents of the property. Yet their sheer size and power were enough to halt the picnic instantly. I calmly approached the edge of the site, documenting every reaction with video and photographic evidence. The HOA members froze in disbelief as the bears continued their patrol, making it clear that any attempt to ignore or challenge the property boundaries would be met with immediate and unavoidable consequences. Karen's plan to intimidate me had backfired spectacularly. She had underestimated both the natural and legal defenses of my land. Using my presence and authority, I instructed the HOA to evacuate the property immediately. Karen's attempts at argument and negotiation failed as the community and her enforcers realized that they had no leverage, no legal standing, and no practical way to continue the picnic safely. Cameras captured every step of their retreat, ensuring that evidence of trespassing, intimidation, and reckless endangerment was fully documented. The incident became an immediate spectacle in the community. Social media exploded with videos of the HOA picnic interrupted by grizzly bears, highlighting the dramatic failure of Karen's plan. Neighbors, once fearful of her influence, saw her exposed as reckless, incompetent, and completely incapable of understanding the consequences of her actions. The HOA's credibility collapsed further, and Karen herself became the object of widespread ridicule. After the site was cleared, I reinforced the boundaries and upgraded the surveillance system. The bears returned to their designated zones, demonstrating the balance between natural deterrence and controlled safety. The property was secure, the HOA humiliated, and the lesson unmistakable. Attempting to trespass or assert authority on my land without understanding its full scope of defenses is futile, dangerous, and humiliating. By evening, the picnic grounds were empty, silent except for the rustling of leaves and the occasional bear moving along its patrol. Karen's audacity had once again been neutralized by preparation, strategy, and the judicious use of controlled natural power. The community now recognized that my land, my authority, and my defensive measures were not to be underestimated. The moral was crystal clear. Arrogance, ignorance, and attempts to challenge those who are prepared, whether through legal authority, strategic planning, or even nature itself, always end in failure. Karen had assumed her public spectacle would intimidate me, but instead it highlighted her incompetence, further cemented my dominance, and demonstrated that crossing me is not only foolish, it is impossible to do successfully.